am now disabled with fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis. I have degenerative discs in my back and all that other good stuff.
Right.
So if I do anything physical, like even walking, my body hurts so bad I end up in bed. So, of course, I've gained more weight because of that, and that doesn't make it any better on my body. So that's kind of, that catch-22 thing. What do I do to stay in shape?
That's a good question. When I've had clients who have come to me with injuries or something in the past that have prevented them from working out for a period of time or something, one of my first reactions to say is this is a prime opportunity to really dial in your nutrition, really pay attention to what you're fueling and feeding your body. Then the other thing I would probably suggest doing is what other alternatives are out there. You know what I mean? Maybe for something like that, something with less impact or no impact would be something that you could do. So I would take a look at maybe something you could do in the pool. In whether that's, there's different aquatic classes. There's deep water classes where you're not even touching the bottom of the pool, so no impact whatsoever. There's classes in warm water pools. If that cold water is something that just doesn't sit right with your body. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
I would probably urge you to try to investigate some things that you could do. I like to focus on what we can do and not what we can't do.
Right, right.
And I know everyone, our bodies are all different, but I usually feel like there's something out there. If we try hard enough, there's something we can find that's going to help you feel better and move better.
I know that my rheumatologist had recommended I try yoga, but to me that seems like that would get me back into my body hurting. What do you think about that? So isn't that more like stretching kind of thing?
It is kind of stretching. But so then there are, maybe like a gentle yoga class, or even there are chair yoga classes. So where you're really just sort of sitting in a chair, and it's just about, moving those arms a little bit and maybe twisting that body a little bit and straightening a leg out in front of you and pulling it back in. Just real basic, simple moves. Again, at a certain point, it just comes down to trying to keep your body moving. I do feel that once we stop moving our bodies, I always say motion is the potion. When we get too tight and too sore, a lot of times if we keep that body moving, we're going to do ourselves a lot more good than letting it just completely stiffen up. Because then when we do move, it hurts because we're not accustomed to moving. So, starting gentle, starting easy, finding a water class that you can do, find a gentle yoga class or a chair yoga, something like that. So.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that because I didn't realize that there was chair yoga. I didn't know that there was warm water classes as far as, the water aerobics and that, because the cold does affect my fibromyalgia and my arthritis more. Yeah, so I couldn't imagine getting into a cold pool,
Yeah, exactly.
So those are great suggestions, and I'll have to look into it. David, I know you had another question.
Yes. I'm on a time-release medication. So what would be the best type of cleanse for me in regard to weight?
Yeah, I was going to say, when we start talking about medications and stuff like that, that's certainly something that you would probably want to talk to your physician about. That being said, I would say my philosophy is I'm not a big proponent of cleanses. I just feel like ideally I would like to just sort of get people back to eating just more clean, more real foods. I don't really think there's too many instances where cleanses are something that people really need to do.
Well, if you eat healthier and drink, more water and stuff, isn't that a cleanse in itself?
Yeah,
I suppose that you could call it that as well. I guess when I hear the word cleanse, I think of those, the lemonade and the hot, the whatever is the cayenne pepper and the honey or whatever it is, all of those sorts of good things. So I don't think those are that good for you. Do people lose weight on them? Yes. But why? You have to ask why. It's because I forget how many days you're on that, but you're basically not consuming calories and you're flushing your system. You're losing water weight and things like that. But I don't think that ideally they're that healthy for you. But you could certainly say cleaning up your food and drinking lots of water could be perceived as a cleanse as well.
Right. Now, the other thing I was wondering is, do you ever speak at schools about fitness? They cut back so much on gym and activities like that and feed them these terrible lunches if you don't send them the kids with something. I think you would be great to be able to speak in schools and get people, the kids motivated.
So I'm associated with the McGaw YMCA in Evanston, and we do actually do some programs with children, with some of the schools. I was doing a program over at our Children's Center, and it was called Food and Fun, and it was actually a curriculum that was brought about by the Harvard School of Public Health. And it was basically just an initiative to, again, like I was talking about earlier on in our conversation this evening, about making activity something fun that kids want to do, and then talking to them a little bit about healthier food choices, and just basic, simple things like which is better for you, an apple or that thing of ice cream or that bag of chips it actually had like I said, it was called Food and Fun, so there was a food component. And they were smart enough to come up with some sort of creative, fun ideas that you can make with healthy food, things that kids can sort of have an active role in helping you make, whether it's bugs on a log or cutting up an apple and getting toothpicks and making eyes out of grapes, all sorts of things. And again, it kind of depends on what age group of kids you're working with, right? It's probably not something that's going to really work with like a 14-year-old, but, the younger kids. But again, I think I was just reading an article yesterday out of the UK, actually, that was talking about the best time to start sort of the intervention with childhood obesity is when the kids are under 10 years of age, because basically that's your chance to go in and sort of set the trajectory that they're going to be on, right? Letting them, get accustomed to good food and get accustomed to moving so that they take those healthy habits into their teen years and into their adult life.
Yeah, but not all of them do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I did that with I have 4 children, and I did that with all 4 of them, giving them an apple instead when they asked me for chips or candy or something, and, gave them a lot of fruit and stuff. And now as teenagers and young adults, they're eating the way they want to eat, and, of course, they hang with their friends, and their friends are eating McDonald's, so they're going to eat McDonald's. They're not going to say to their friend, give me an apple instead. So let's hope that goes back around when they get older.
I was going to say, it might come back around. I sort of was raised with, I was the kid that had the little box of raisins when everyone else had the ho-hos in their lunch, and I was that guy, and it was horrible when I would bring my lunch to school. No one wants to trade a box of raisins for anything good. And when I sort of had the ability, as I got older and had money in my pocket, I could buy the Doritos and the things like that, and I did, And then it kind of came back around full circle eventually. So.
Right.
So don't give up hope yet. You instill those values, and I bet at some point they're going to come back around to that.
I hope so. I mean, I've even done that with my, as I call them, G-sons, because, and I told their mother that too, because she's only, she's 23. So, she's skinny as a rail, and she eats a lot of junk food. And I says, well, you got to do it with the kids. Don't give them candy all the time. You're sitting there eating a whole bag of candy with your kids. Give them an apple, give them an orange, give them a banana, do something. And I noticed the last time they were at my house, the little one, he's 3 years old, he asked me for an apple. And the other one said I wanted chips, and he's 4. And the little one said to him, no, you got to eat apple with me and Nana. So I was like, oh, yay. Something's working.
Something is working.
Well, and that's the thing, right? 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, they don't know what chips are unless someone's introduced them to them. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
We're not born going, I need Doritos.
Right.
That's something that they've been introduced to. And you hit on another key thing there, and that's how do we model good behavior, right? As adults, as parents, as things like that. Like what kind of behavior are we setting for kids? You can't, like you just said, you can't eat a bag of candy in front of kids and say you shouldn't do this. Have an apple. No.
Right.
They want the sugar, and if you're having it, why can't they? Is what they're thinking. So, yeah absolutely.
Yeah, and I've been really trying hard with that because that's my daughter-in-law, and then my son that's married to her. They're both huge junk food eaters. But again, they're skinny as a rail, and I try to tell them that's going to catch up to you because I was skinny once. And then when you get to be an adult, every piece of chip that you put in your mouth is going to be 10 pounds, and they kind of rolled their eyes at me. But I said, just wait, you'll see. So I'd like to let our listeners know that you can follow Steven on Twitter at steven-seidel, and it's S-T-E-V-E-N, and then the letter C, and last name is S-E-I-D-E-L. Be sure to check out his blog and website at steven-seidel.com, and also like his Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Steven-Seidel Healthy Happy Living. Also, if you're in the Chicago area, you can book a private session for yourself or a group by emailing him at steven-seidel@gmail.com. And you also offer online coaching. Now, would you tell us a little bit more how that works?
Correct. Yeah, that's sort of an option for people who really just need that accountability component, right? Someone they can sort of say, all right, here's what I did today, here's what I didn't do, what do I need to do tomorrow, what should I have to eat, what would you suggest I do for a workout? So it's sort of about meeting them where they're at. I kind of base it individually on exactly what they're looking for. Is it someone who travels a lot and just needs someone to check in with once in a while? Or they're at a hotel and realize that they didn't have a gym in the hotel, what can I do? Just kind of whatever it is that they need to help them stay on track with their health and wellness goals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think that if I had somebody that I had to check into, that would help me immensely because my family is one of those families that they support you, but then they'll buy you cookies. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I need someone to stand by me and say, do you really want to eat that cookie?
And with good intentions they do that. They don't, they're not trying to be malicious, but that's how it happens. So absolutely. So I always tell my clients I'm always a text away, text or a phone call away from making a bad decision, and I get texts all the time. I'm at such and such a place, and I'm about to, and sometimes before I can even type it back into them to, work through it. Like, what are you up against? What are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this? A lot of times they'll text back and be like, oh, I'm good now. Sometimes it's just that break in their behavior. You know what I mean? They're reaching for the cookies, but they stopped long enough to text me. They stopped that behavior. So So yeah, that's kind of what the online component is, that online coaching. It's just someone who's on your side and is going to help you get to where you want